Apple's Magic Mouse is one of the most divisive things on the internet since that weird dress thing that drove millennials crazy. Some people absolutely hate the Magic Mouse for its apparent lack of ergonomics and weird charging port placement, while others praise it for its ingenuity and ease of use, and some, like Apple's own CEO, apparently forgot it existed.
The Magic Mouse.
The Magic Mouse.
Now, I've always been firmly in the camp of people who hate the Magic Mouse in spite of the fact that I've never owned one, but as my older cousin once asked me when I said I didn't like boys, how do you know if you haven't tried it? But this isn't the story about what happened at summer camp. It's the story of how I finally tried the Magic Mouse and how it ended up being something very different than I was expecting. The original Magic Mouse came out in 2009, which means next year it'll be old enough to buy alcohol in most countries, but not in America, where it'll have to settle for learning how to kill people. Now, interestingly, the original Magic Mouse, while sporting an almost identical look to the second generation that came in 2015, has one significant difference in that it uses regular AA batteries instead of having an infamous charging port on the bottom. There have been a few other changes along the way, such as updating the Bluetooth capabilities and switching out the Lightning port for a USB-C port, but other than that, this thing has functionally been the same for the past 17 years. To give you a frame of reference, this is what a MacBook Air looked like when the first Magic Mouse came out. And this is what an iPad looked like, because it didn't exist yet. So the question is the Magic Mouse that good that it didn't need to change over the past almost 2 decades, or is it horribly out of date? Well, I bought one to find out. So after opening up the box, you are immediately greeted by the mouse itself. And let me tell you, if you've never seen one of these in real life, it does look incredibly unique, including the charging port and all. You also get a manual, as well as a bit more paperwork for the warranty and so on. And finally, a pretty nice USB-C cable that's about 1 meter or 39 inches long. Setting up the mouse is as simple as plugging one end of the included USB-C cable into the charging port on the underside of the mouse and plugging the other end into your iPad or Mac. After a few seconds, it'll connect and you can now unplug the cable and start using it wirelessly. So typically when I review a mouse, I like to split it up into different categories like design, comfort, features, and so on, but I'm gonna do things a little differently here. First of all, this thing has been out since I was, let's just say, younger, and it's so well known in the tech community for both good and ill. Instead, I'm just gonna go over the things I like about it, the things I don't, and everything in between. And spoiler warning, pretty much none of this is gonna be how I thought it would be before buying this thing. Let's start with the good stuff. The first thing you'll notice when taking it out the box is that the Magic Mouse is kinda like Adam Driver. It looks bizarre, but in a good way? I don't know, it's kind of weird looking, but there's something about that sleek simplicity that exudes a high-class premium feeling. I do wish I had one that was color matched with my barely blue MacBook Air, but while they do make versions of the Magic Mouse that match the colors of the iMac lineup, they only sell a standard white version and a black version, which is $20 more expensive.
Wow, that's racist.
Now, part of what makes it look so good is that it's just one big surface with no distinguishable buttons or scroll wheel. That's because the entire top of the mouse is actually what Apple calls a multi-touch surface. Essentially, it's a trackpad on a mouse. And if you haven't tried it before, that might sound either incredible or awful. I wasn't sure what to make of this myself until I tried it, but now that I have, I think it's amazing. Being able to scroll from pretty much anywhere on the mouse and to do so horizontally and vertically is a really neat trick, and it does feel very intuitive and easy to pick up. Now, it's not a full trackpad, you can't pinch to zoom, for example, and there are some inherent limitations to this design, which we'll get to in a second. But I genuinely do like this feature a lot, and I think most Mac users would. Speaking of which, once you connect it to a Mac or an iPad, no support for iPhones yet in case you were wondering, you get a specialized mouse menu in the settings where you can change some basic stuff such as the cursor speed or scroll direction, as well as utilize some of the more unique features such as Smart Zoom or other gesture controls. Once again, the integration of products within the Apple ecosystem is great here, and it really makes you feel like Batman. Feel like all your devices are part of one greater whole, right down to the little touches such as the animation showing you how to use the specific feature you're currently hovering over right underneath the battery percentage. That percentage is not something you'll have to check very often, by the way, because the battery life on the Magic Mouse is actually pretty good. I've had it for a few weeks and it's still hovering at about 80% without me having charged it, though it's important to note that I haven't been using it every day in this time. Still, I've had absolutely zero battery anxiety with this thing, and I don't expect that I'll have to be charging it very often. According to what I found online, it should charge from 0 to 100 in about 2 hours, though even a couple minutes worth of charging should still give you enough to make it through a full day of work. Of course, that brings us to the infamous charging port, perhaps the most notorious and most widely discussed single aspect of any mouse ever made. I've railed against how stupid it is for years at this point, because why the hell would they put a charging port on the underside of a mouse? And now that I have it, I can honestly say it's fine. Look, is it fundamentally a weird place to put a charging port when the vast majority of mice have ports that allow you to actually use the device while it's charging? Yes, absolutely. Is it annoying in those rare instances where you really need to use the mouse but it needs to charge first? Sure, but at most we're talking about like a 2-minute waiting period once a month, which is far from the most annoying waiting time you'll have with this mouse. More on that in a minute. Honestly, it's just not that big a deal. You can even see why Apple have done it. I mean, where the hell would you put the charging port where it wouldn't get in the way of the unibody surface? The other thing that's had us haters unite like we did after the Game of Thrones finale is the lack of ergonomics. I mean, just look at this thing. For years, we've been having more and more taller mice enter the landscape, with a direct correlation between how high they extend upwards from the desk and how many times they're allowed to use the word ergonomic on their website. So in a world where tall is seemingly king, the Magic Mouse kind of looks like Danny DeVito entering a slam dunk contest. I mean, just look at Marquez's response to Tim Cook talking about the ergonomics of the Magic Mouse.
Getting the ergonomics well done and was key.
With Magic Mouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
But once again, it's fine. I'm not saying the ergonomics are great or even good here, but once you adjust to it, it's not that bad actually. I do find myself switching positions between different types of grips quite often, more on that in a minute as well, but just resting your hand flat on it is actually kind of nice, at least for a little while. So again, it's not that good, but it's definitely not as bad as you would think just by looking at it, which coincidentally is how my wife introduces me to her friends. So far, that means that the things I was most convinced I was going to hate about the Magic Mouse have actually turned out to be nothing burgers, which is a phrase I'm sure dates me even more than me being a grown-up in 2009. So if all the bad stuff wasn't all that bad, and there's some really good stuff here too, that must mean the Magic Mouse is great, right? There was a moment early on where I was starting to think that I might actually really like the Magic Mouse. The design was great, I was loving the multi-touch surface, especially for video editing, and it just seemed like another perfect addition to the Apple ecosystem, one that would slide in and work effortlessly alongside all the other Apple products I had. But somehow it still didn't feel effortless, though I couldn't quite put my finger on why. There were some things I didn't like, such as the inconsistency in terms of turning it on and connecting to my MacBook. It would always connect eventually, but sometimes it would take as much as 12 seconds to do so. And look, that might not sound like much, but like I always tell my wife, 12 seconds really is a substantial amount of time. Now, after I did a bit of testing, I discovered that the 12 seconds wasn't how long it took to connect. It was apparently how long it took me to get impatient and start clicking the mouse, which would then cause it to wake up and finally connect. Apparently, this is a normal thing, at least according to some sources, but I've never had a mouse where I had to do this. And even when you do click the mouse, it still takes several seconds for it to wake up, which is not that much, but it is just enough that you notice it every time, which definitely takes away a bit of the premium feeling that Apple has done so much to achieve. A bigger issue, though, was the fact that it just felt so imprecise when using it. At first, I thought it was my grip, like maybe I was holding it wrong, which did eventually turn out to sort of be the case, but it seemed consistently inconsistent, at least when trying to make precision moves. Then I thought it might be the surface I was using it on. I was mostly using it on this wooden table in the living room, and after a bit of reading online telling me that the sensor was so good that it was very particular about where you used it, because Apple fanboys have to praise everything Apple does even when it's something bad, I decided to move and try it on other surfaces, but it still kept happening. So I did some more digging and eventually I figured out the real issue. Let's see if you can spot it. Here's the underside of the Magic Mouse, and here's the underside of a bunch of other mice I own. Do you see the difference? Now, some of you might point out how the feet of the Magic Mouse differs from the others with these two sort of thin rails on the sides, but actually, those are fine, and in fact, they work very well in my experience. The real issue is the sensor, or rather the placement of it. Every other mouse I currently have, and pretty much every mouse I've ever used in my entire life, has had a sensor that's placed roughly in the middle of the mouse. The placement of the sensor fundamentally impacts how you navigate the mouse. It's a very minuscule change, but if you're someone that's been using a mouse with a middle sensor for thousands or tens of thousands of hours in your life, switching to one with a very high sensor is going to feel different. It's almost like trying to write with your non-dominant hand, although not quite as pronounced. But it was definitely enough to drive me crazy every time I wanted to do something like highlight a word and I just couldn't get the mouse to go where I wanted it to. Now, there are ways to deal with this. First, you could just keep using the mouse and not care, and maybe eventually you'll get used to it. Perhaps this isn't as much of an issue if you're not someone who's already spent an enormous amount of time using other mice. Or maybe you're just less of a nerd than I am and you won't notice any difference at all. I definitely think if you're someone that's grown up on regular mice and you like to play high-paced FPS games or something like that, you'll probably feel it more than others might. If so, the only real way to mitigate it is to change how you grip the mouse. Because the Magic Mouse is so flat, it is possible to hold it in ways that you just couldn't do with a regular mouse. So you could, for example, slide the mouse further back into your hand like this, which is going to place the sensor closer to the middle of your palm, which went a long way towards mitigating the issue for me. However, this led to some other issues instead. For starters, it's not very comfortable, so I can't do it for more than a little bit at a time, hence the aforementioned frequent switching of hand placement. Using it like this also makes it a lot harder to use the multi-touch surface features such as scrolling, both because it's a bit awkward to do from this position, but also because the palm rejection on the mouse isn't always the best, meaning the mouse has a hard time telling what's actually you trying to do something with the Surface touchpad and what's just your palm resting, which leads to very inconsistent results. And then there's other stuff like the lack of customization. Because the Magic Mouse only has one real button, although it can be split into two different zones, you're missing out on a lot of the features you get with other mice. Sure, there's the touchpad on the Magic Mouse, but other than scrolling, you're only given a couple of predetermined options for what you can use it for, whereas another mouse like the MX Master 3 has like 7 buttons and you can reprogram most of them to do pretty much anything you want, including setting up macros like using one button as a shortcut to copy something and another button to paste it. The Magic Mouse offers none of that. You just get the 2 clicks and a few gestures that Apple has picked out for you. That's it. Look, overall, do I think the Magic Mouse is a bad product? No, actually not. I think that for a certain target audience, this thing is absolutely brilliant. If you're a lifelong Mac user and you never do any gaming, which is heavily implied by being a lifelong Mac user, and you're not the type of person who uses phrases like productivity or ergonomics, like you don't care about setting up macros to edit videos slightly faster and so on, then yeah, I actually think the Magic Mouse is easily recommendable. It's sleek, it's got some really nicely integrated features, has decent battery life, and it requires almost no setup. But if you're someone that's a little more critical of your input device, like you care about customization or you know what DPI means, or if you're just someone that's been using a more conventional mouse for a very long time and you're happy with that, then I don't think the Magic Mouse is the one for you, and there are way better products out there to suit your needs, typically for less money while you're at it. Something that costs even less money than that is to give this video a like. In fact, it's free last I checked, but you never know, they might start charging for it someday, so leave a like while you still can and subscribe to my channel for more unbiased tech-related content. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.